All right, so trying a new format today. I think I'm gonna kind of start making this more of a podcast to document, whether for myself or other people. Just trying to help motivate. I know it's tough a lot of times trying to stay motivated, especially for me. So this on the is it my left? Yeah, well, your right hand side seeing this kind of motto. This is something I found this image. It's so cheesy. It is such a cheesy logo, but it's true. It's you work hard early on, and you're benefiting from time. And if you're starting off young, it's all about learning and trying to save as much capital or build your network up as much as possible in your 20s. Because it's a setting up process. It's not about, it's so hard to be successful in your 20s. And I know right now, the messaging you'll see on TikTok and a lot of these other social sites, I'm an overnight success. It's the fact that I'm making tons of money from these NFTs and I'm making tons of money from this, that, and the other. And I think what people miss is the hard work that goes into it. And you could potentially stumble on a lottery ticket and have the passive income, but really, if you want to really have freedom long term, because the NFT thing, it's short-lived. So you can make a ton of money right now, but what do you do after that? Are you really going to make, you think you, along with everyone else, is going to make 50? The retirement number for me and my wife, the number is 15 million. You really think you're going to make $15 million flipping NFTs? If you do, fantastic, more power to you. But the probability of you doing that is insane. So what are some of the vehicles that have helped people get to that place? It's all about owning assets. It's about being a high income earner, as you hear with everybody in the site. The number one thing that makes millionaires out there is finances. But honestly, personally, I'm not big into insurance. I'm not an insurance guy. I've done sales. I think there's a lot of benefits to those sectors, but if you're not passionate about it, does it really matter? So find yourself in a place where you want to help people. I love helping make an impact on people's lives, on their businesses. I just love helping people, and that's the core of how I make decisions and what I look at. And something I stumbled upon pretty early on was logistics. A lot of people don't know this, but 72% of all the goods in the United States move on a truck at some point. Everything that you touch comes down to being touched by logistics and helping people. So I loved that aspect. I loved how much, if I can save people money on supply chain, on costs, it's huge. It's huge for these people. And there's so many goods out there that really benefit a lot of people. I've moved so much, it seems innocuous, but toilet paper or food or whatever over the course of my career. How many people have I touched and impacted positively because I made sure that those things were done on time? It's also an industry that is massive. It's also old. So I love industries that have high potential. And something that I saw in the logistics, it moves slowly. There's regulations that are in place, there's inherent things, and it's so busy. Not a lot of time for the incumbent companies to innovate. Now it's changed. JB Hunt's doing some great stuff. Some other people are doing some great stuff. But as somebody who wants to build, somebody who wants to get in and own assets and deliver value, and what I love about logistics, it's really clear value on what you're doing. It's great to build. But that's what I've become passionate about. It's something that I know inherent, and I've become somewhat of an expert. I'm still very early on in my career. I've done a lot for somebody as young as that I am, but I know that there's so much more to learn in this space. There's so much more that I can do to help positively impact. So, look where you can make a positive impact. And if you're making a positive impact, you're most likely delivering value, and you can calculate what that value is. So early on, I'm still in the first stage. I'm still in the grind stage where I'm saving capital. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, but I'm approaching quickly my 30s. In the later half of my 20s, and it's now starting to be build phase. So I'm looking at, where do I move my capital? Where do I want to position myself? I have crypto 100%. I have some miners. I own crypto. I got some I'm staking Midas DAO nodes, not financial advice. That's just what I'm doing personally. But a lot of that, it could take off and blow up. And I think there's definitely those cases. One thing I love about HNT, which is something that I'm heavily invested in, it's a clear value. HNT, if you don't know, provides a 5G network, and you get paid in cryptocurrency to 5G. But it's a clear value. But it's not, it could be a long-term play, but as of right now, it's not. So I'm looking at assets in my field, like parking facilities, like truck stops, like even owning equipment myself and trying to rent it out. Different things like that where I'm owning assets. Now, something that's really cool about the logistics industry, and what I mean cool, I mean is super nerdy business stuff. It's depreciating assets versus appreciating. And everyone's like, man, I don't want my stuff to depreciate. In the business world, it's not as bad than your car depreciating where you're losing that inherent value. Because depreciation in the business world is write-offs. Write-offs. Again, I am not a CPA. I am not telling you this. I'm saying this is what other people have told me. Go talk to a CPA, a financial advisor. Do not take my advice. I am not certified, and this is just talking. So there's huge potentials to pair it up with appreciating assets where you're offsetting and how you want to structure things. So, for me and my wife, my goal this year is to help her retire and be a stay-at-home mom. My wife is newly pregnant. I'm super pumped about it. It's my first kid, but something that is on my mind, and she has told me, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. She's made that very clear to me. So that's my goal now, is to take my career to a certain place, to build enough passive income through side businesses where she can help manage part-time, but she can effectively retire from the corporate career if that's what she chooses to do so. Something that myself as a husband and a provider, and I am very much more traditional male. I am not the other end of the spectrum. I don't judge. You do you, but this is how I live my life. I want to present my wife as many opportunities as possible, and I want her to have freedom of choice. Sometimes I don't personally have that freedom of choice because I have obligations, but that's the burden that I'm taking on myself. And my goal in life is to give my wife a life that she didn't have previously, to build a life that I didn't have previously, and to give her freedom. And ultimately, long-term, buy my freedom. When I see a dollar, I don't see, I see the monetary aspects, and I'm a numbers dude, analytics dude, so I see the analytics. But it's really time. So how much time do you have saved up? How much wiggle room do you have to make moves and to shift? And, the number for me is 15 million, because I see, especially with how insane inflation is this year, we're going to have more years like this. There's other years where we might have deflation, but deflation hasn't happened in a long time. So I imagine over the course of my life, there's going to be more inflation. So I need a hedge against that. If you're retiring today, and I'm 65 years old, $3 to $5 million is ideal. But I'm 28, and I am a long way off from 65. If I wanted to retire today, I need $15 million. And frankly, if I want to retire at 65, I probably need $15 million too. Because the interest that are accrued from that covers my expenses and hedging against inflation. But 15 million in my mind is the bare minimum goal. It is not what I have written on my whiteboard. I have very, very lofty goals for myself and what I choose to do. But ultimately, I make decisions that are first and foremost what God has planned out for my life. I am a Christian, proud of it, and that is something that I believe. I also make decisions based on analytical numbers. So, there's a logic component to my spiritual moment, a component, and ultimately it's what me and my wife decide on, and something that we've discussed early on in our marriage and have continued. When we're both on board, that's when we do something. So either I have to or she has to craft the business plan for it to make sense to both of us. And we both think very differently. She is significantly more conservative than I am on business ventures. She has a not so much money mindset, but more of a protection mindset, which kind of keeps me in check. Because I want to run a million miles an hour. I want to do this. I want to do that. That's my personality. So thankfully, I have found somebody that offsets that and adds value to me long term. And that's, if you're single, I encourage you to look for somebody that is going to build you up. They don't necessarily, I see these podcasts all the time. She's got to add value. What does she bring to the table outside of this? And the emphasis is sex. The emphasis is you bring money to the table. The emphasis is you do this. Oh, I can get a housekeeper that covers it. They're not looking at that soul connection. So what I look for and what I look for in a partner is who delivers value to me, who fills my gaps, right? Who picks up where I leave off, because that's who completes me, and vice versa. Am I delivering value to her? And do I fill the gaps that she's missing, right? So that's where a lot of times the best marriage is. The people are opposite. So I'm an extrovert. My wife's an introvert. We have those opposites. But she is helping really build in my 30s. And chill in my 40s, my idea of chill is to be able to have the freedom to do what I want, whether it's lecturing, whether it's whatever, whether it's just helping people. I most likely am not going to retire from my businesses in the age of 40. But I want to have my freedom by 40. That's my goal, is to be financially free. And what that means is my cost plus at least my cost plus 100%. So double what my costs are, either by passive income or whatever. If my revenue is double my costs, I'm chilling, right? And it's also how much time do I have banked. So if I liquidate, it doesn't have to be liquid. Like I'm not going to have 30 years liquid. Anyone who has 30 years liquid either has a ridiculous sum of money or is really, really poor at finding good investments. Because if you are liquid, and you should be looking for the next investment to be not liquid. Now, I always have the length of time it would take plus or at 6 times the length that it normally would take for me to find a job to replace my existing income. That's what I got banked and liquid. Sorry, I need some water. That's what I got banked liquid. And that's part of the grind in the 20s, is to have enough liquidity so that if I needed to hop jobs and there's a gap between, I have the freedom to do that. I'm not locked in to this job because I'm paycheck to paycheck. So the grinding in your 20s is learning, expanding, and getting beyond paycheck to paycheck. And once you're beyond that, every additional cent goes towards setting up the build. And 10 years is a good amount of time. 10 years is a good amount of time to scale. So you should have an idea before your 20s end what you're going to build, how you're going to build it, having partners, having accountability people, having the network to do so. Something I've worked really hard is to build up my professional LinkedIn network. That's something I've worked on every single day. I've tried to be in a job that allows me to do that as well. Because getting connections, there's definitely a saying that net worth equals net, or network equals net worth. Who you hang around, who you spend time around will really pay dividends on where you want to be. And one of my best friends, Matt, he encourages me a lot, man. He lifts me up, but he also brings me deals and opportunities. And I try to do the same thing for him. I'm more of an executor. I'm very operationally minded, but I'm sales focused too. So I've worked really hard to be well-rounded. Now, if I'm truly honest, where's my skill set? Analytics and sales. Those are the two that, man, I got those dialed in, and I can perform at a pretty high level in those two sectors. But really, it's about. I lost my train of thought. So the reason why I decided to be more well-rounded and try these different sectors is because that's what it takes to be a business leader. If you want to run your own business, especially not a solopreneur, but like a true business, I got to know when you're not telling me the truth, or I got to be able to diagnose what's wrong pretty quickly. I don't need to be the expert. I don't need to understand that the server is, but I need to understand, hey, my website's really slow. How are you setting it up? Do you have servers? How are you mirroring your servers? Hey, you know what? This report that I need, I don't need it to be live. Let's do it on a 15-minute refresh to make sure it's efficient, because I need to rip through the data. Understanding different little aspects like that allow me to operate a more well-rounded business unit. I understand sales, I understand marketing, I understand P&L statements, but it's because I've learned and I volunteer for a lot of things. So, grinding in your 20s, learning, everyone's like, oh, how do I learn things? Volunteer to do things for free. And if you're at your job and someone says, hey, I need help with this, or I want to do it, just say yes, even if it's not your job, because that means you're learning something outside of your job. One of the pitfalls of the employee is, that's not my job. I'm not paid to do that. That is ultimately a mistake if you want to be a business long term. Now, if you want to be an employee your entire life, and you want to have a chill life, and you want to do the same thing for 50 years and then maybe have enough money to retire and, stay in the same house you've been, maybe do some little travel, maybe go to Disney every now and then, maybe you go on vacation every now and then, you're not going to have the freedom of time, then do that. But if you are more like me, just say yes and figure it out. Google is the most powerful thing that has happened ever. Any information, anything you want to find and learn about is online, period. Anything. I struggle nowadays. Do you really need to get a degree? Well, degree generally gets you into a job that you can truly learn at. But if you can get a job that you can learn how business operates, or teaches you a skill like marketing, like sales, like managing people and having a good EQ, you don't really need a college degree anymore. Most of the knowledge that I've acquired has been outside of my college degree and how it works. Now, my college degree made me aware of different topics, but they don't have enough time in a 4-year period to dive into them. So always be constantly learning. YouTube's your best friend. Figure it out. Again, just volunteer for things. And I think it's counterintuitive, because you're like, man, I'm taking on more work. I'm taking on more responsibility. Well, as you take more responsibility, you learn more. So, that is an integral part of the grind, is doing that. So That's the topic I want to talk about today. I wanted to go through what I learned and how I grind and how I'm building. And ultimately, what does chill mean to me? Chill means to me freedom. And this little corny motivational freaking meme that I found has become the centerpiece of what I thought about. There's other sayings that I've gleaned from my father, from my grandfather, that are integral. So maybe I'll start talking about those topics. But this is something that I truly believe in. This is something that I'm really focused on. There is nothing more important than getting started early, because time is what makes you money. It's about the compound interest. It's about compounding growth long term. So the sooner you start, the longer period of time you have, the bigger it can scale. And it allows the sooner you get started, it allows for failures to happen. It allows you to come in and misstep and make a mistake here. But because you have started so early, your length of time is so long, you have recovery time. The later that you start on things, the less recovery time you're going to have. So get started early. I hope this talk and this really quick video is motivational to you. I'm kind of starting this podcast. Really, like, the basis of it is showing you how I'm hustling, talking about my journey. And frankly, if no one watches this and just my son watches this, that's all I care about. At least documenting for my own children what I'm doing, what I'm going through in real time is extremely valuable to me. And I encourage you to do it for your own kids. If you, or, do it now, even if you don't have kids, because memory's a funny thing. You're not going to remember it perfectly. So if you're at least talking about it in the moment of what you're doing, what you're thinking about, what the challenges are that you're facing on a regular basis. And I'm going to talk about that in this podcast. I think it's important. It might evolve and I might start doing interviews or whatever, but frankly, this is more for me than it is for anyone else. So I appreciate you taking this journey with me. I appreciate you, starting this with me. I've done some recording. One of the two big things that I'm also focused on in my grind right now, and I'll go into depth to it, of the successes that I've had and how I do things. First and foremost, I'm doing intermittent fasting. Right now, I am the heaviest I have ever been. Well, previously, before I started the fasting. And I'm very focused on, trying to be more physically fit like I was in the past, and building businesses beyond my 9 to 5, my career. But then also, how can I build in my career? Because I love what I do, and I can go into in depth of it much in future videos. So if you want to learn more about me, my process, the things I've done, the successes I have, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes, and you can replicate my successes. So, I hope you have success in life and in business. Check out my other pages. Check out my TikToks, my YouTube channel. I got a Twitter. I got it all. I got it on LinkedIn, which I don't know if I'm going to post this content on LinkedIn. I'm still debating on deciding. And I have a Facebook page where I game, because one of the things that I have to decompress my life is video gaming. So Big Business Gamer is that other handle. But most of my handles out there, it's Tampa_hustle. Please like and subscribe if you found this helpful. Please like and subscribe, because that encouragement to me, I'm going to keep doing this. But frankly, I'm going to keep doing it whether you like or subscribe or not. So thank you so much. If you did watch this, son, I love you. You don't even have a name yet. You're still, in your mom. So I can't wait to start saying it, but I love you, kid.